G'day there guys, Marky here, and welcome back to another episode of r/relationship advice stories from Reddit. I do hope you enjoyed today's bloody good episode, and with that said, I want you to sit back, relax, chuck a prawn to the Barbie, and let's get right into it. Posted by user ThrowRaEel, titled, Am I the asshole for leaving a dinner party after a girl sat on my husband's lap? I am still so shook with everything, so sorry for my rambling. My husband Jake and I have been married for 3 years, and from the beginning, he was very close with his best friend's sister, Cindy, 18 female. Well, my husband would often talk about her and tell me about how he had seen her grow up throughout the years. Cindy is always very bubbly and seems very fond of Jake as well. I remember when we were dating, she would ask to come along on our dates a lot. I never really said anything, as I liked spending time with her as well. She was like a little sister to me. When we announced our engagement, she asked my husband to better not forget about her after being a married man and still hang out with her. Well, we got married, and I even made her my bridesmaid. Soon we moved to a different state and kind of lost contact. Now Jake's best friend came to stay with us for some time, and Cindy came along as well. The moment she saw us, the first thing she said was how hot my husband has gotten, and she was glad that he didn't look like those boring married men. Then throughout their stay, Cindy would just ignore my presence and would be way too close with Jake. I told Jake that it was looking a bit inappropriate and to ask Cindy to tone it down, but he said that Cindy is just a bit childish and is that way with everybody. Well, on their last day, we decided to host a dinner party for everybody. During the party, I was with Jake when Cindy came and told me, "Oh, I need to steal your husband for a while." And before I could say something, she grabbed Jake's hand and took him to play some games. I ignored it since it was their last day, but then throughout the dinner, she was getting way too close with Jake and would just drag him away whenever I would be around while giggling at me. When everybody sat at dinner, I sat beside Jake and Cindy came last. She then said, "Oh, there's no seats," and then just went and sat on my husband's lap. Everybody was surprised, and Jake said while laughing, "Cindy, stop acting like a child, come on. You're not a kid anymore." Cindy started laughing, saying that it was a joke, and got up and sat on the other seat while giggling at me. Yeah, I was so angry with the disrespect, and with the fact that Jake was so cool with it. But I didn't want to say anything bad, so I excused myself and took my car and went out. About 1 hour later, Jake called me asking where I was. I told him that I was going to my friend's house and I'll come after Cindy has left. I know what I did was terrible, but I was so angry at that time that if I'd stayed there any longer, I would have probably started fighting or crying. I came the next day, and Cindy and her family had left. Jake was very pissed and said that I took things too far. I started crying and told him how everything made me feel. He said I was horrible to think such things about Cindy and that she was like his little sister. I told him that I was not doubting his intentions, but I was hurt by how disrespectful Cindy's behavior was, and he was enabling her by not saying anything. He started saying that I sound ridiculous and couldn't even take a joke, referring to the sitting on the lap incident. And I said, regardless, I don't want her in my house again. To top it off, Cindy sent a message saying that she was sorry about making me so insecure in myself, and that she would make sure to make me feel better. But I should not have left, as it was pretty childish and kind of spoilt the mood. It just felt so backhanded. I didn't reply anything to her. I just told my husband that he needs to maintain a distance with Cindy. He asked if I was giving him an ultimatum, and I said he was going so far as to disregard and disrespect my feelings for Cindy. This really rubbed my husband the wrong way, and he said since I have such disgusting thoughts in my mind, and I'm giving him an ultimatum anyways, then he might as well leave, because he cannot live with such an insecure person who has such disgusting thoughts about him. He packed a bag and left to go to his mother's place. I have tried apologizing numerous times, telling him how sorry I am for everything, but he's ignoring my texts and calls. Later, Cindy's brother texted me and called me a bunch of names to think like that about his sister, saying Jake should just leave me, and that a disgusting person like me deserves to be alone. I could not stop crying after that. I don't know how to fix this. Is there any way to even come back? Was I so wrong to deserve this? I don't know anymore. Edit, people who are asking for our ages, we are 25 years old, just a few months apart. In the comments, TopBit85 says, not the asshole. Your only mistake was apologizing to your husband, as if his accusations were fair. Agree, she had nothing to apologize for. Now her apology justifies their actions as making it seem like they did nothing wrong, but she did since she is apologizing. I would go as far as taking back the apology. Yup, everything she was upset about is invalidated. Every future upset is invalidated. Apologizing was OP's biggest mistake. Not the asshole. Your husband should care about making you uncomfortable. You pointed out that it was inappropriate, he blew it off up until the point that she sat in his lap and even has to say something. Not because he was upset, but because everyone was looking. He is disregarding his own encouragement of the behavior and gaslighting you to try and make it a you problem. He is a married man who is letting a young woman sit in his lap and intentionally disrespect his wife. You don't have a problem with Cindy, you have a problem with your husband. This level of disrespect to one's spouse is unacceptable. Yeah, as someone 5 years into a marriage, there are only 2 people that I really give a shit about, myself and my wife. There is no situation anymore that I care about making some friends and co-workers etc. feel awkward or uncomfortable instead of my wife. These posts always seem crazy when someone blows up at their spouse over, "You made my friend's sibling feel weird." Like, how could you possibly care about that over the feelings of the person that you spend 99% of your life with? I feel like if this was my husband, and some girl sat on his lap, regardless of me being there or not, he would have pushed her onto the ground. I can't even say that it's an age thing, because we started dating when we were undergrads in college, and he still would have reacted the same way then. This guy needs to have a lot more respect for his wife. Yeah, I would be willing to give my husband the benefit of the doubt if this happened to him, which it wouldn't, but the moment I say that it makes me feel disrespected, he would immediately do whatever it takes to make me feel better. The bigger red flag is not that OP's husband has some 18-year-old attention seeker flirting with him, but that when OP shared her feelings, he said that it was disgusting and left, then refused to take her calls. There will always be things in life that make you feel uncomfortable, and your partner may think that they are not big deals, but how he responds in those situations says a lot. A little sister? Then why didn't she sit on her brother's lap? That is weird, and it is disrespectful. Not the asshole. He is disregarding your feelings, perhaps counseling before divorce. A little sister that sits on his lap and thinks that he's sexy. I don't have a little sister, but I'm sure that I'd be weirded out if my sister sat on my lap, flirted with me, and told everyone how sexy I was. My brother, who was around 37 male at the time, had a similar issue with his wife's little sister, who was 17 years old and 8 years younger than wife. He viewed her as a kid and took her, along with their 3 kids, on a week-long family beach vacation. 3 days into the trip, my brother called a family meeting with wife and kid sister to discuss her behavior, which was her hanging on and rubbing her body on him in the ocean and pools, sitting on his lap, trying to ride his shoulders in the water, and holding his hand to pull him where she wanted him to go to play and swim. He said that it was highly inappropriate, and that while she may have innocent intentions, he was uncomfortable with it. Furthermore, if she didn't stop, they would end the vacation early and go home, and he'd have no further contact with her. Little sister got mad initially, but later admitted that she had a kind of crush on him, and didn't realize until he addressed the behavior that she was in fact flirting with him. She stopped, apologized, and was embarrassed. OP is not wrong, and not the asshole. Husband needs to realize that, while Cindy may not have even admitted it to herself yet, this is exactly what is going on. This seems pretty serious, and I don't understand why OP did apologize to the husband in this instance. OP had nothing to apologize for. This is some deny, attack, reverse victim offender Davo going on right now. Absolutely not the asshole in this situation. I don't know how he convinced you that you are and how he manipulated the story to make you the bad guy, but damn. You deserve better, OP. I really don't like what he's been doing here at all. And now, on to the update. Thank you all for responding, and people who gave me good advice in personal messages. I couldn't read all the comments, but now I know my feelings are valid and boundaries were crossed by Cindy. Now, during the dinner, there was Cindy, her brother Sean, and his girlfriend, and their cousin Derek, also a good friend of my husband, with his boyfriend. So I called Derek and asked about the situation and about what happened after I left. He was sympathetic and said that after I left, at first they thought that I would come back after some time. However, things were really awkward. But when I didn't come, Sean's girlfriend told Cindy that she was so disrespectful for doing that. Derek and his boyfriend also said the same thing. To this, Cindy started crying, saying they didn't have to corner her and attack her over a silly joke, that she didn't know that it would get so out of hand. She then left the room while crying. Jake didn't know what to say, and everybody left early the next day. Derek also said that Cindy has always had issues with boundaries, and when he introduced his boyfriend to everybody, Cindy would get too close and would joke that she was just checking if he was really gay. They were really uncomfortable with it as well, so Derek confronted her, to which Cindy rolled her eyes and said that they can't take a joke, and eventually stopped. This all sounds so bizarre. I don't know what's going on with Cindy. Sean's girlfriend also texted me saying that she was sorry for what happened. I told him how Sean's message was inappropriate, but she had no idea about the text, so I sent her a screenshot and asked her to tell Sean to not harass me again. She was very apologetic and said that she would talk to him. Now my mother-in-law called and asked what was going on, as Jake didn't tell her, and only said that we had an argument. I was a bit hesitant to tell, but eventually told her everything. She was furious at my husband. She said they will be coming over to have a talk. So yeah, I'm just waiting for them to arrive, and I'm really nervous. I don't know if what I did was wrong or right, but we will see. As for people saying that my husband is some pedo or they're having an affair, I know this is furthest from the truth. I never questioned his intentions, but what hurt me was a lack of respect from Cindy towards me. And now, on to the final update. This is for people who are still asking me about the update in private messages. So, my mother-in-law came with my husband, and well, the talk happened. There were a lot of things, but I'll try to summarize. Basically, Jake apologized to me first and tried to explain his point of view. He said that he was angry, A, because I left without saying anything for the whole night when he was literally trying to just diffuse the situation, and tried to laugh it off because it was so awkward, he didn't know what else to do. But instead of communicating, I just left him in that weird situation. He was meeting his friends after such a long time, and just wanted the dinner to be peaceful, and Cindy was going back anyways, and we would most likely never meet her again. B, he acknowledged that Cindy was indeed overstepping boundaries, but he didn't know how to bring it up since he has literally seen her growing up, and she is like a little sister to him. Also, she acts like that with everyone. He thought that it was just for a few days, and he wanted no drama during their stay, so he would just brush it off. He did acknowledge that he was wrong about not saying anything though. C, he was already really worried and sad because how I just left with no explanations. Even after I came back, there was not one time that I asked how he felt. He was also very overwhelmed with everything and felt that I was accusing him for not doing anything when he literally pushed her off as politely as possible when she tried to sit on him. He felt as though I was attacking his character and even gave the ultimatum, which made him so sad as he felt as though I thought less of him. It wasn't about Cindy, but about how easy it was for me to question his sincerity. He said after that dinner that he was going to go extremely low contact with her anyways. D, he apologized for not speaking up about the disrespect that Cindy was showing towards me and for also leaving like that. Then after Jake had said everything, mother-in-law explained the situation from her perspective. She scolded him a lot as well. In short, she told him that as a husband, it was his responsibility to make me feel like I am his priority, and that he's disappointed at me the moment that I had to come to ask him to establish boundaries. As a husband, it was his duty that I would never have to come to him about this in the first place. She also asked him how he would have felt had it been from a guy sitting on my lap, and he had no answer to that. She told him about how what I did was an eruption of suppressed feelings, and as a husband, it was his duty to go after me and never let me leave in the first place. There were a lot of things said by her, and Jake seemed to realize and sincerely apologized for his actions. She told him that if he ever pulled such a stunt ever again, then to not expect her to take him in. Later, she took me for a walk, and it was just the two of us, and there she explained some things to me as well. She said that she is sorry for everything, but told me that even at her house, Jake was distraught. He didn't tell her because he most likely knew that he was wrong too, but was overwhelmed about everything as well. She said she in no way is excusing her son's behavior, but would hope that I would forgive him. She also said that in no circumstances do I need to leave my house, as it was my house and my family. She said that I shouldn't be afraid to speak my mind if anything makes me uncomfortable, and to talk to her if Jake does something stupid again, and says that she will set him straight. She hoped we work it out, since she has seen our love for each other, and it would be sad to see us split up due to some disrespectful brats. Her words. She said she cannot have a say in our issues, but suggested that we should get counseling to understand each other better. She even bought ice cream for me. I know it's a bit childish, but she said sweet things work as a charm when people are upset. And well, she was right. Well, it was awkward at night. Jake came to our room and we didn't know what to say. After a while, we talked and both apologized to each other. However, I did tell him that I was angry at him for telling everything to Sean and was deeply hurt by the text he sent me. He said he didn't know what I was talking about, and I showed him the texts. He said he didn't tell Sean about our fight and only told him that he was at Mum's place. He called Sean and, well, it turns out that Sean told Cindy and told her how she went too far at the party. Then Cindy made this huge sob story about how I was passive-aggressive with her the whole time, how I would always try to question her character and act insecure and jealous. She even went on to say that I was always like that with her, even when she was a kid, and that I never liked her and always tried to manipulate people into thinking that I was an angel while she was an SLUT. Well, that made him angry to think about how I have been treating Cindy and that he sent those texts. Jake and I were baffled by such accusations, and he tried to explain to Sean how it wasn't true, but then Jake just let it be and decided to go no contact with Cindy and extremely low contact with Sean. Jake apologized again, and we just cuddled and slept. Well, Cindy is out of our lives for good now, and we've decided to go to counseling for better communication in the future. Let's see how everything goes in the future, but yeah, we are not getting divorced. I know a lot of you people wanted me to show Jake this post, but he was so sad and got scolded a lot already, so I decided to not show him for now. Maybe I will in the future. Sorry for all the rambling. Have a good day, people. Edit. I read that people saying we should be no contact with Sean too, and I felt that it would be best to let that friendship go as well. So I talked to my husband about it, and he agreed. So he sent a text to Sean saying that we could not be friends with him, and then blocked him as well. To clarify, I have somewhat forgiven Jake for his actions, but I told him that he needs to rebuild the trust that I had, so I know that I can rely on him in situations like that. He agreed, and we will be getting couples counseling as well. Thank you all for your advice. You all made me feel less lonely in all of this. In the comments, Malfass43 says, so basically, Cindy is confirmed to be a manipulative biatch. Brother is an ass too. Cindy, whoever she is, will be posting about this somewhere on Reddit and spinning the story to fit her narrative. She seems like the person to do that as well, lol. He's like a brother to me, and his wife is turning him against me. Yes, I always sit on my brother's laps, don't you? I love your mother-in-law. She is the hero of the story. I'm glad that it worked out. F Cindy. She knew what she was doing. Generally, it's a good update, except that it took a grown man having his mum yell at him to realize that it wasn't his wife's fault that she got mad that he let another woman paw all over him for days while he refused to set any boundaries. He wanted to blame you for being upset, blame you for saying something to him, and when nothing changed, blame you for walking out? If his mum weren't there, would he have taken any accountability at all? He made himself out to be the victim of Cindy and you until his mum intervened. He prioritized everyone's feelings but yours. That's messed up. I'm not sure what you apologized for. How hard would it have been for him to say, from day one, dude, your sister is being really inappropriate, it's making me uncomfortable, please talk to her before I have to get rude. When the bad friend pushed back, if I was all over her the same way that she is me, you'd punch me. And when that doesn't work, Cindy, you must stop harassing me in my home. You are no longer a child. This is inappropriate and disrespectful. I actually wonder if he's dumping so much on you because he can't admit to you or mummy how much he enjoyed it. Now he's staying friends with a guy that went off on you and then said that you were a cruel person for picking on his little sister? Counseling is good. Your husband growing up and respecting you and your marriage above others is a goal to work on. Communication is good. Him learning what boundaries are is good. She's right. If a man was behaving the same way with you, how would they like it? At what point do you stop apologizing for being perfectly reasonable and not wanting your husband to treat you like crap? If your mother-in-law has to drag your husband back and he can't actually apologize and clearly didn't want to be there, why would you take him back? This won't end well. The husband is such a terrible partner. Almost everyone at the dinner party, all his friend group, realized how wrong the situation was. But he didn't? And then when his wife comes home, he still flips it on her to the point that she thinks that she did wrong. He doesn't take responsibility until his own mother smacks some sense into him. That guy sucks and is way too slow to back his wife up. There is definitely going to be more problems like this in the future. In the husband's defense, he was low-key sexually assaulted and people often don't know how to react to that kind of thing. Like, if a guy that I viewed as a little brother randomly slapped my butt in front of my husband, I don't know what I'd do. I'm not saying that he reacted well here, but it feels a little too victim-blamey to act like he's irredeemable or a bad person for reacting poorly in the immediate aftermath of a very weird situation. Especially because of the way that men tend to be socialized when it comes to sexual advances. Yeah, very much complicated and difficult situation, but I'm on board with that comment as well that says, why did she stay with the husband after he didn't want to be there? The math ain't mathing here. Like, it's good that you went completely no contact with these two people, but why did he have to be dragged through hell and high water to get here? Bless your mother-in-law's heart for standing up for you and forcing this, and not being a just-no mother-in-law like we've seen in the past. But yeah, he clearly didn't want to be there, he didn't actually apologize, he can't actually apologize. Why? Why not just, take a break, take a breather, end things potentially? I don't understand the sunk cost fallacy here, it's just not a good time. I hope there is another update that smooths this out, but it's not looking so good right now, OP. Oh my god. And our next post, of course, does not have an update, but I liked it because this is some good drama. And it's by user NoiseHot3537, titled, Am I the asshole for saying just don't come to my stepmom when she and my dad told me she didn't want to attend my high school graduation with my mum? For some background, my parents divorced when I, 18 male, was 3 because my dad was having an affair with my stepmom. My mum and stepmom were work rivals and had a strong dislike for each other even before the affair. There has always been speculation that this is why my stepmom willingly became the other woman because she disliked my mum. I was aware of this, and not because of my parents, but because of drama that would kick off with my dad's side of the family, and I was present for some of my dad's relatives' speculations about this. My parents did not get along after the affair, and tensions were high whenever my mum and stepmom were in the same room. My stepmom had 3 pregnancies that ended in miscarriage. The first 2 were, I guess, typical/normal miscarriages, but the third one caused my stepmom a lot of medical issues, and that led her to being infertile. So she and my dad never got to have a living child together. After the third miscarriage, my stepmom wanted me around because she wanted to feel like a parent, and she wanted to know that she would still have me. She and my dad asked my mum if they could extend their time with me, and my mum laughed in her face and told her that she didn't care what she had been through and that she would not let me be used as a band-aid. My stepmom argued that she deserved compassion for what she was going through, and it would be good for me to get that little extra attention and love since I wasn't ever going to have siblings. My mum told her she'd never have compassion for her and didn't feel sorry for her at all. She told her she didn't deserve to be a mum after taking part in the end of my stability within my family. She did blame my dad too, but that has never been focused on as much by my dad and stepmom or his family. After that, my mum and stepmom were never in the same place together. They had third parties take care of exchanges of me until I was old enough to hop out of a car and into the home that I was returning to. Once they realized that I knew details of what happened, my dad and stepmom were vocal about my mum being cruel and hurtful to my stepmom, and that was why they weren't ever in the same room together. A few times I picked up on their desire for me to hate my mum for them, but I don't. I try to stay neutral, which my mum encourages, but if I have to pick, like with this, I'm hashtag Team Mum all the way. I'm graduating from high school in a couple of months, and my dad and stepmom brought up that my stepmom doesn't feel like she should be around my mum and does not want to be there with my mum. They told me they feel that it would be best if I make it clear to mum that she can't be there. I told them that my mum will be there. Then my stepmom told me that she can't be in the same room as her after what she did, so I just said, "Don't come." I told her that I wasn't going to beg her to be there. I wanted my mum there, and they weren't going to stop me. They asked me how I could say that, knowing that my mum betrayed my stepmom, and they asked me to be more compassionate. Am I the asshole? In the comments, Monster Chic 16 says, "Not the asshole. Jesus, move away as soon as you can. I'm surprised you haven't asked to stay with your mum full time at some point. Where was your stepmom's compassion when she broke apart your family? I'm hashtag Team Mum too. Your mum deserved way better, and so did you." OP says, "I live with my mum now. This started when I was 17, though I do see my dad and stepmom because my mum encourages me not to do anything on her behalf. But at this point, it's more about me. And this is how you know that you have a great mother. Even though she has animosity with your father and stepmother, she's encouraging you to stay neutral as well, as for you to continue to see them. Because you should have a relationship with your father. Your stepmother can go kick rocks in trying to manipulate your feelings against your mother, and your father sucks for going along with it. Also, not the asshole. Because if stepmom doesn't want to be in the same room, so be it. Don't come. Wait until a wedding fiasco. She seems like she'll be a nightmare." Correct. Of all the adults in this equation, your mum seems to be the only one that cares about you. She wants you to have a healthy relationship with your dad, even though he cheated on her and has been bad-mouthing her for years. When one puts one's own ego above the welfare and happiness of children, they lose the right to participate in any of the child activities and don't deserve any compassion. These comments are spot on. I'm an adult now, but my dad cheated and then would make comments about my mum after they divorced. I was angry with my father, and yet my mum, who had custody, would never badmouth him up until I was in my 20s, even though him and his family put her through hell. Guess which parent I barely speak to? OP, not the asshole, and your mum sounds like a great person. Not the asshole for saying it, but I think that it's time you stop being neutral. Your stepmom sounds awful. If I were you, and this woman was the cause of my family breaking apart and hurting my mother, I would hate her. If it was me, I would have said, "Where was the compassion for my mother when you had an affair with her husband? Where was the compassion for me when you broke up my family? The only reason you want anything to do with me is because you can't have children of your own. I bet if you could, you would have tried to push me out of my father's life. Let me make it clear to you. You are not my mother, you will never be my mother, and if you keep trying to turn me against my mother, I will go no contact. Just because my father is blind to how toxic you are, doesn't mean that I am." This. I would add that you are now an adult, and the court does not dictate your relationship with your father. Your mother will be at all of your major adult milestones, whether they like it or not, so they can decide now to behave and accept that, or not, because the first time they make a scene, they will no longer be invited to any future event. And then leave so they can't argue with you. Not the asshole. I very much agree with that. It is so good that the mother is not getting involved and staying neutral throughout this entire thing. You don't want to be dragging kids into the family law courts. You don't want to have them involved like that at all, because it just makes things so much worse. And they're correct about that. You do grow and mature and realize who was in the wrong in situations like this. Then you decide if you want to stay in contact or not, because being poisoned by one member of the family while the other stays neutral makes it pretty clear, who the perpetrators of such actions were. Definitely not the asshole OP for saying just don't come to your stepmom, because how dare she? How dare she say your mum shouldn't come because it makes me uncomfortable? You worded it perfectly, and thank you so much for standing up for yourself and for your mother, because what an absolute witch of a woman. Honestly, she deserves no grace for that. What a terrible person that stepmom is. Anyway, guys, that's where I'm going to end today's episode. I do hope you enjoyed. If you did, let me know what you thought of it in the comments down below, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.